All right, it's time for the big one, man. We went to the movies, we all did our thing, and we came back with a report of what the hell Evil Dead Rise is. So 2023, rated R, 1 hour 36 minutes. It's listed as horror only, Tifflebot. So there you go.
Oh, I like that. I really like
Right,
that.
there you go. So a twisted tale of two estranged sisters whose reunion is cut short by the rise of a flesh-possessing demon, thrusting them into a primal battle of survival to face the most nightmarish versions of the family imaginable. That's right on it. Directed by Lee
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Cohen. I mean, so who was in this damn movie, Tiff?
Not a lot of people that you would know, but Lily Sullivan is maybe the most. She's the main character. Alyssa Sutherland, Morgan Davies, Gabrielle Eccles, Nell Fisher, Richard Crouchley, Mirabai Peace. I will say Bruce Campbell has a voice-only cameo.
Really?
As one of the on one of the records. Yeah.
Oh, that was it. Oh, shoot! I didn't even know. No wonder why it got so much attention. All right, man. So, before we go any further, it's our guest. Let's go up here. With my controls is that I refuse to move closer. So, our guest, one word.
I will say almost.
Almost. Explain.
Well, I think I'm a huge fan of the whole franchise. I love every single movie in this franchise, and I think there's 5 movies. This is the 5th movie. I think 4 of them are 5 out of 5 movies, and I put this one real close to that, but not quite. So I still think dollars for donuts, bang for your buck. This is the best horror franchise on the market, and that's even including the TV show. I think this is the best consistent, awesome entries. But this one just doesn't quite achieve the greatness of the other 4 plus TV show.
Well, you were a fan of the TV show?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, me too. I got so much delight in it. I was so disappointed when it was canceled. I was like, damn. I enjoyed watching his antics every week.
We got 3 seasons out of it. That's more than I ever expected. So I didn't think it was going to last 6 episodes. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Tiff, one word.
Complicated.
Explain.
And I'd say for the same reason Joey is coming at it. I feel complex about, kind of conflicted about this movie. Maybe conflicted would have been a better word, because I feel like if it hadn't had the Evil Dead title, you might have been more willing to be like, because there's nothing super Evil Dead-ish about it, I don't think. I mean, yeah, there's some stuff, but it's mostly just a horror movie, which isn't even a bad horror movie. But it doesn't seem like it needs to be a part of this franchise. It seemed like it had that kind of like when James Patterson writes a book, but it's somebody else actually writes it, so he puts his name on it. And it could have, there's really no reason to have this be part of the franchise. It could have totally been like a Sam Raimi produced vehicle that doesn't have anything to do with Evil Dead, but it feels like they did it so that people would go see it. Now, I think that standing alone as a movie, a horror movie, it's pretty capable of, it's got scary stuff in it. The plot, it makes sense. It's tight at 1:30. Do you know what I mean? I think that's got a lot going for it. There's some stuff that I was like, but I mean, there was a part that we'll get to later that I was really excited about. We'll talk about that later.
My one word is interesting, because I didn't know if it was going to be a part of the Evil Dead universe. And after the spoilers, I'll explain it. And just to say that I think it's a complete reboot. So they're doing different things. So I don't think it's actually connected to anything else. I think this is supposed to be the first movie in this series, and so I think that's why it felt like some things were lacking, but I found it interesting and definitely entertaining. I wasn't scared though. That's my only problem.
What?
It was a lot of shit going on, but I wasn't like, oh my goodness, like I like to be, because I guess Evil Dead is so over the top. You just expect everything. It was some things that happened with the kids that I was really surprised about. We'll get into that after spoilers. So let's go ahead and hit them spoilers and let's get into it. So everything is this thing starts weird, like it looks like a summer camp where with when you think it's the Deadites, right? Doing the blah blah blah, but it's a goddamn drone, and it's like, well, that was weird. The girl out sitting out there, and then the douchebag comes out there and being the most douchey that you could ever be, and they're out there isolated, and the girlfriend is sick, and she goes back to go tend to the girlfriend, and then she starts doing that weird shit. So where are you at with this, Joey?
In my opinion, this is one of the best opening sequences into title in a long time.
Oh wow, interesting.
The whole beginning, it's setting your expectations for an Evil Dead film, and then when she rises out of the water and the title comes up behind her in the sky, is chef's kiss perfect. That was fantastic. It was fantastic. I always throw out there when people talk about the best openings to a movie, and I always throw out 2004 Dawn of the Dead remake. However you feel about the rest of the movie, the beginning through the opening credits with the Johnny Cash song showing news reports like the world falling apart.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely, like 10 out of 10 perfect horror movie filmmaking. And I would put this up there with this. It just sets the tone so well, and that title card reveal was just amazing. So all in at this point, all in.
Okay, what was you all into at this point, Tiff, or you were like, what am I looking at?
I was hesitant because I knew that it didn't take place here.
Because it said, said 2 days ago or something like that. Yeah.
Right, and you'd seen the stuff, so I was like, why are we starting here? That being said, this is such a strange thing to say, but one of my favorite things to notice in this movie was she's trying to read on the dock. She's reading Wuthering Heights.
Yeah.
But what I like about that is that she is not in the middle of the fucking book like we always see in a movie. Like when these people are going on vacation, they've never read a book. So she's reading from the beginning, and I kind of like that because I feel like it was. I know that's a really silly thing to notice, but it felt really. And she's just fucking frustrated by this guy. Like she didn't want to be there. Do you know what I mean? When she pulls her hair off, she scalps her or whatever you would say. I was highly disturbed.
I thought she was dead. I couldn't believe she came down to that dock.
Whoa! When she walked up that dock, I thought I was gonna vomit. I was just like, "Woo!" I don't like it.
Girl would have survived if she would have just took her ass to the car and just drove away.
No, I think she was done. I think she was done with that. Terrible.
Well, the girlfriend gets the what do you call that, the drone in the face and stuff, and it was cool because they played that Evil Dead over the top, crescendo music when she came out the water. And I was like, oh, it reminded me.
I did really like that
where we were. So I agree with Joey with that. And I don't even think about stuff like that, like the beginnings and stuff like that, and how well it was done. So that's something we can start thinking about, Tim. Because
it sets the tone too. Like the important thing is it sets the tone. So in the whole franchise, there's two types of films: the first Evil Dead, the remake, and this are more horror, mean spirited, like. There's no hope. It's gory. It's brutal, and everyone's going to die. And then Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, and Ash vs. Evil Dead are goofy, fun. It really sets the tone that Bruce Campbell isn't going to be hitting himself in the head with plates in this movie. This shit's going down.
That's true. It definitely had the tone of the first movie a lot more. So, then we go, back in time a couple of days, and this lady is on the phone, and she's obviously pregnant, and that little concert. I ain't never been to a concert that was that damn dark and creepy. I was like, it's creepy in there. What's gonna happen?
I've been in some really, really gross venues and some really gross bathrooms, so that was not a jump it was not out of the ordinary.
I'm sitting in there like, yeah. And you know what a pregnancy does in that?
Well, she's a
roadie.
A roadie, groupie, question mark. I will say that this movie, the thing about that opening is that I was wondering how we were going to get back there the whole time.
Me too.
Do you know what I mean? I was like, how do we end up there? Which was, I don't mind that. That's quite kind of interesting in some ways. But yes,
the characters that were introduced, they were none of them were those people. You were like, right. Who the hell are these people?
Right.
Go ahead.
And you get
And
the feeling that these people don't.
that's good because now we're not sitting there knowing, okay, I know this character survives to get to the lake house, so it's still left everybody with a questionable fate, you know.
Yeah, we don't really. We'll get to the ending, but these people really, you get the feeling, and I hate to, in a lot of horror movies, the people who like get it don't deserve it. You know what I mean? Like in your mind and your viewpoint, you're like,
Well, it doesn't matter with
these
Evil
people are
Dead. That's one
innocents.
thing about Evil Dead.
Yeah.
There was no, scream. This person gets it. Everybody gets it. You know, whether they nice people, bad people, good people, ugly people, sad people, pretty people, they getting it.
I would say that in this one, there's more of a touch of it because we have the corruption of what is clearly like a consecrated ground situation. So the aunt comes back. They're living in that dumpy ass high rise, which at first looks like quite a nice apartment, in my opinion.
You got DJ Justin Bieber in there trying to spin the record, trying to start his career and stuff. I'm like, where did he find this kid at? And then
it's so loud, and you think, oh, but then you realize that the building is condemned or somewhat abandoned.
I think
right? Like
said,
they have 24 hours to get out, or 2 weeks, or a month, or something.
I think they said a month to vacate. It was being sold, and a lot of people had already moved out. So,
right. So, which is a perfect, I think, great setup for a horror movie because you're in an isolated situation, and then they introduce this whole other isolation where there's an earthquake. There's an emergency situation.
Really good, that was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes you more trapped because a lot of times when you are in a horror film, I think they try to find some way to lose contact with emergency services.
The power went out. Yeah.
Yeah. My cell phone isn't working. And you're like, where are you? That nobody, one of you's got Sprint, one of you's got Verizon, somebody's got service.
Right.
But in this situation, there's obviously been a catastrophic event that causes there to be a believable reason that these people are isolated without help. And I liked that.
Yeah. So the boy plays the records. Pretty much, in my opinion, Joey.
He steals the records.
We got a book in the record, and to me, this is really the first knock on the movie. Is the whole scene with him finding the stuff, and we know it's Evil Dead. He's got to get the book somehow. He's got to read from the book or play the music from the book or whatever somehow. But man, that scene where he goes down the bank vault, it was just it took forever. Like almost 10 minutes of him walking around down there with them yelling, "Come on, let's go, come on!" Like, do shit or get off the pot. Like, get the book and get out of there. Or
also, not really scared at all.
No,
that would be very scary down there.
Yeah.
Especially after an earthquake with everything shifting around. Yeah. The other thing is, to me, is always like, have none of these people ever watched a horror movie in their life where you found that thing and there's red flags through the roof? Do not touch whatever is in that box and get the hell out of the hole. Like, I don't know.
Well, so when you watch this scene, first of all, they drop the pizza, which is maybe the saddest thing that happens in the whole film.
Wait a minute, Tim. Yeah. Why was it so ruined? It just fell down. It was.
Yeah, pick it up. You know what I mean? One of those boxes, fine.
It was ruined.
And I was already upset when she dropped the soda because I was like, now they're not going to have any soda for their pizza. And I was like, and then they dropped the pizza, and I was like, this is some bullshit.
This woman don't got no damn money. You know?
Yeah, those looked expensive. So they crawl into the hole. The son crawls into the hole. Now, here's the thing. Even if I'm not in a horror movie scenario, because in real life, you don't ever assume you're in a horror movie scenario. When I hear a noise in my house, I'm going to go look because I'm not thinking that there's going to be a monster in my basement. I'm not, like crazy, but like, well, okay, a little. But this child goes into the hole, like you said, and there's no element there. There's a little bit of he maybe seems scared a little, but not enough.
Yeah.
But also just like, in my opinion, and maybe they weren't raised right, but clearly there's some like religious situation going on there. Like there's, is it bones in the area, right? Yeah, and like you steal from it. Yeah. You should feel weird and bad about that, generally speaking, because even if it's just not a scary situation, you're stealing from dead people. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's a weird thing to do. But also the book, he's like, yeah, I'll take that. I'm like, it's got fucking teeth.
Yeah.
You should be aware that
Right.
this something is not right. But you're right. They act very much kind of like even keeled about it. Even when they take it upstairs and they're looking at it, and the sister's like, "This is weird." I'm like, "You are not acting like it's weird enough."
Yeah. Yeah. But again, going back to the record, he plays the record. Scared. That was one of the scariest scenes in the damn thing, because the voice was just booming, and the explanation of what was going on, and I literally was just like, "Holy shit! Please stop playing that thing," especially when he started going Tanada, Nikai, and I'm like, "Oh fuck, here they come!" And he's just like, and they do that Evil Dead thing where they like swoops the camera all around the room and stuff like that. So I thought that was good stuff, man. I'm like, okay, you guys got the.
But part of me is listening to that and thinking, you put some house music over that, that'd probably be pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking when I heard that. And I was like, I can see why this kid maybe isn't super like going to turn it off, because again, you don't assume that you're in a horror scenario. The book with the teeth should have given you a clue.
Yeah, and the drawings as well. But maybe he thought there were some block rock and beats on there, from the Deadites. I don't know. But one thing I love, and it's kind of going back to the vibe of the movie versus the other types of Evil Dead movies in the franchise, is it's completely his fault. There's no excuse, and there's nothing he can do to fix it. Everything that happens from this point on.
But they don't address that. They don't ever.
Yep. 100% that kid's fault. Not a sympathetic character at all. He messed up. Like, don't do this, and he did it, and it all goes off the wire.
And when the weird shit starts, he don't even say nothing. He's sitting there like, "Oh,
right." That's what I think that is weird about this. Well, not another thing about the kind of like, it's almost there, like you said, this kind of like, is that we obviously know that child is to blame for what happens to everybody in this apartment building, not just his family, every single and theoretically summer camp, everyone on the planet. Do you know what I mean? Like, and he does get a comeuppance, I guess, but not solely. It's not like there's ever a big punishment, which is fine. I don't need that necessarily, but they never ever really address that it's his fault.
I'd agree. I think the poor neighbors outside the peephole got it worse than everybody. They were. So the mama get possessed, and they're trying to deal with her, but they can't. The elevator, when she was like in that thing, I thought they was gonna do an Evil Dead one with a tree scene, and for a moment I was like, "Oh, don't y'all do this!"
I also thought that too, but thankfully they didn't go there. So
yeah, I'm like, "Well, look, y'all, that was a mistake when you did that." So let's move forward. So she comes back, because she was doing laundry. She comes back and she's obviously jacked up. She's going down fast, But when she steps in that hallway, and those neighbors, I was just like, "Oh, poor fellas, man." I mean, it was so well done being shot through that, that catfish, that lens, so you couldn't see everything. They walking past the peephole, then the dude gets shot against the wall. Oh my goodness, it was bad. It was bad.
I would have liked to have seen some of that, but I appreciated the stylistic choice to not show it. And I love the fact that this movie, I don't normally like this in movies, but they killed kids in this movie, and they didn't give two craps.
I was so surprised.
They killed the younger neighbors. I mean, moving on in the story, when we get there, they killed two of the three siblings. They did not hold back at all in this one. Normally, it's like Independence Day, where like the dog like somehow miraculously makes it out of the explosion to jump into the room with them or something like that. Like, kids and animals never in danger. For this one, like, they right away, as you see that little kid go flying and hit the wall, and you're like, all right, it's on.
Little fella too, man. I was like, oh shit. And then I was surprised that two of the teenagers like got it, because they weren't like older teenagers. And so when it did happen, I was like, oh shit. Oh, y'all, is the little girl safe? I was like,
that little girl is so stoic. Do you know what I mean? Just like, which I really actually quite enjoyed. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, she knew shit was fucked up, which is, and she's acting somewhat appropriately, like kind of like a traumatized, what you would assume, correctly. But you're right. Like, I don't want to say I like it when kids get killed in movies, because that sounds horrible, but I enjoy, if you're going to show me something that is truly terrifying and inescapable, and you're in this, of course kids are going to die if kids are there. And if you pull that punch, then I'm going to say that you are not being accurate to your own story. Like it would be impossible. It would, if all three of those kids walked out together, I would have been pissed off, because there's just no way. And then I do think that there's like that whole, she's a good mom, bad mom spirit. There's a whole dichotomy there that's really interesting. And then the demon. So we assume, or the girl is pregnant, right? The sister.
Yeah.
But it's implied that she would be a bad mom, and then of course she's the mom, a good mom, in this horror scenario. The people outside, very invested in this family. I would be like, something's wrong with all of you, and I'm not coming out of my apartment. You can come, you're going to come in here probably and get me anyway, but no way am I going to be in the hallway.
Right outside the door.
The answer is no.
Yeah. So
her eating the glass was probably one of the worst.
Oh,
not because it definitely wasn't the worst thing we saw in the film. But I have a fear of swallowing glass, like on accident. So that was really weird. I don't know how much we're going to get into all the stuff, but that later when they merge into one sort of body horror monster, I could not have been more excited. I got pissed off because they were pulling that camera like they kind of did earlier and implying, and I was like, am I not going to see this shit? Because if I don't see this shit, I'm going to be mad. But you see it. You see it. And it is gross and it is great. And the way they do it is quite disgusting. Like,
yeah, it was.
No.
It was. So we're getting to the high crescendo of the movie, right? Because it became some kind of dog creature or something, Joey. And then, they're trying to make it to the elevator. And at this point in the movie, I realized, I said, hey, wait a minute. She has on a blue shirt. She has a chainsaw. I was like, she had a shotgun. She's Ash. This is not a remake. I mean, this is a remake. This is not a continuation of the universe. And so
it is a sequel, Montego. It is a sequel. It is in the same universe. If you remember, in Army of Darkness, there were 3 books in the graveyard, and he took one. Then the second book goes to the 2013 remake. And this is the 3rd book.
That's not the same.
So book. I guess I'm really wrong to say that it is in the same wheelhouse.
Okay.
It's got those little strings.
Yeah,
I guess.
But she had on a blue shirt and her face got totally bloody. It's the same.
Yeah. This is supposed to be like that. And I mean, towards the end, like you said, Tiff, the merged monster. You have to understand this was this is a pretty low budget movie. I think they made it for $13 million. It was supposed to go straight to HBO Max, but they dumped it in theaters because it got good screening results. So they did it. I think they did a good job hiding it. So you kind of see it scuttle in the background in the fog. You don't really get a huge good look at it. I think it didn't look great when it was sitting in the wood chipper. Some of the CG was kind of bad, but it was nice to see something different like that. For me, like one of the almosts for me is it's in the truck. It's about to kill the little girl. It turns around towards her and she's like, come get some. And like, I know you have to say that in the movie. I know you do because it's an Evil Dead movie, but it didn't work. It should have been the moment in the movie when you were like, yes, but it didn't, it just didn't hit right. For some reason, it just didn't hit right. I don't know if it was because of the character hadn't been established like that, or it was trying to force that kind of vibe into a different type of vibe movie. It just didn't work at all. I liked when she had the chainsaw.
I feel like,
but I didn't like when she was trying to use Bruce Campbell lines. It didn't.
Yeah, she turned into Ash right there on the screen.
Yeah,
right. I sat there in the movie theater and it's like, oh yeah, that's not it. That's not it for this movie.
But when you watch the film, I think that I am maybe not going to back down on because like you're kind of implying here is that like if they had taken that stuff out of the film, those very small, like at the book itself, yes, but if you'd taken that out, it would have been a movie without those things. Do you know what I mean? Like it wouldn't have had to have that but the stuff in it to connect it. It feels like it's done so that you have that connection, but it's fine. Yeah. I didn't, at the end of this movie, we're coming to the end of the movie, and there's all where we get our connection. They escape, of course. They're covered in blood, yada, yada. But then we get the connection back to why we're at summer camp or whatever, the vacation at the beginning of the movie.
Which I thought was brilliant because I was looking for it the whole time. Go ahead.
I was too, and I like that. But at the same time, I was like, everybody in the building, I feel, would have been dead. How did she survive? Could you have just closed your door? In which case, easiest horror movie to survive of all time.
She was on the fourth floor. They was on the what? The 13th, the 14th?
Yeah. She was
the
on a
demon doesn't
floor,
care where you are.
On a different floor. She took the stairs. She didn't even know what was going on. You know?
But then,
and guess what, Tiff? She didn't survive.
Yeah,
it got her ass.
You're right.
You
know what? My bad. You're right. She did get fucked.
Yeah, bad.
I will say that she walks over through the blood, and she keeps. I'm like, as soon as I see a bloody car in my car garage, I'm in my car and I'm leaving. I will call the police, but I'm not staying. I'm not going to look.
Yeah,
I'm not going to be like, let's take a peek.
But I thought it was interesting that they possessed her before she even left the place. That it was like a serious possession, not like a subtle, like, did something just kiss my ear? It was like, she's like, I'm coming to get you. Like, wow. So I wonder how she was acting in that car drive all the way to where we're going, So
she was excited because she knew.
So I did enjoy myself watching this film, y'all. I mean, it wasn't a perfect film, and now I think I like it even more now that Joey said it cost $13 million. I'm like, well, damn, that was pretty effing phenomenal. So I'm sure it has to be a success, but maybe not. We still had that other movie being released that was.
I looked it up and I thought that it had made $86 million.
Yeah, it's doing big gangbusters. So
50. So it's doing well.
Get ready for another one. That's for sure.
With that opening, I knew there was already going to be another one.
Okay.
Yeah, I like I said, I really liked the movie. I did. I just don't think it's as good as the other four movies in the franchise, and I have very minor quibbles with it. Really nitpicky stuff like the fact that their small apartment somehow seems huge throughout the whole movie, and there'll be stuff going on in one room and no one reacts to it. Yeah,
it did.
But the minor quibbles aside, I think this is great. I think it's a worthy addition to the franchise. So.
I think I don't know as much about the franchise as you do, so I feel like I maybe shouldn't say, but I feel like it could have been standalone on its own and made a new franchise. That's maybe my one complaint, and I wouldn't complain too much because I feel like amongst the movies that have come out recently for horror, it's a pretty good movie, pretty good horror movie.
Yeah, it definitely kept your attention the whole time. I never got bored. It never got to the point that I was going the old, come on, man, which is like the kiss of death for me. Once I started saying that, like, oh, come on, man. I didn't say that one time. I watched it. It was creepy and spooky, but I guess because there were those super duper jump scares, I didn't get like a one of those moments, but at least not for me. But I enjoyed it. So I do recommend, especially it'll probably be on streaming in no time because everything is now. And I feel like an idiot going to the movies. And I'm like, God damn it. There it is. I could have stayed at home one more week. Anyway, hey, we want to thank our guest, Joey, for coming on here and making this trilogy and doing his thing and bringing so much to the podcast, man. It's one of our first friends in podcasting. We know him, you know him, we love him. And
thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming on and doing your thing, man. I'm the host of Fangio Patrol. My name is Montego. With me is my adorable co-host, Miss Tifflebot. Say goodbye to the people, too.
It's been a pleasure, as always.
Mr. DiCarlo.
SoWizardPodcast.com. Peace out.
Indeed. So until next week, we will be on
Patrol.